I came across something recently that made me stop and think about my own patterns, and what I found genuinely surprised me. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately started scanning every face to figure out if someone was upset, and then spent the next hour trying to figure out if it was because of you? Have you ever been having a perfectly good day, and then one person went quiet, or answered a little too short, or just seemed off, and suddenly your entire nervous system went on high alert? Have you ever apologized for something you didn't do, just to make the tension stop? Just to make the room feel safe again? Just to bring the temperature back down? If you recognized yourself in any of those questions, I want you to stay with me. Because what you just described isn't sensitivity. It isn't anxiety. It isn't you being too emotional, or too much, or too in your head. What you just described is something that was built into you, piece by piece, year by year, in a place where you had no choice but to build it. You learned to read rooms before you learned to read books. You learned to sense the shift in someone's tone before you understood what that shift even meant. You became so finely tuned to the emotional atmosphere around you that other people's moods stopped feeling like their moods. They started feeling like your responsibility, like your emergency, like something you had to fix before something bad happened. And here is the part that is so quietly painful. You got good at it, really good. You learned exactly what to say to ease the tension. You learned how to be lighter when someone needed lightness, steadier when someone needed steadiness, smaller when someone needed space. You became whatever the room needed. And for a long time, that felt like love. That felt like being a good person. That felt like the safest version of you that you knew how to be. But here you are now, exhausted in a way you can't quite explain, drained by interactions that other people seem to walk away from just fine, carrying a weight that nobody else seems to notice. And somewhere in the back of your mind, the question that keeps surfacing: why is it always me? Why am I the one who feels everything so deeply? Why can't I just let it go? The answer is older than you think. There is a pattern that psychologists call the fawn response. Most people have heard of fight, flight, and freeze, the ways our nervous system responds to danger. But the fawn response is different. It is the one that looks the most like kindness. It looks like keeping the peace. It looks like smoothing things over. It looks like making sure everyone around you is okay before you even think about checking on yourself. The fawn response is what develops in children who grew up in environments where someone else's mood was genuinely unpredictable, and where managing that mood became a survival skill. Your nervous system learned something early. It learned that a shift in someone's energy, a sigh, a silence, a certain look, was a signal. And that signal meant, pay attention, act quickly, make this better before it gets worse. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. Your nervous system became like a smoke detector, wired to go off at the faintest hint of smoke. Not just fire, but the idea of fire. Not just conflict, but the possibility of conflict. You were never reacting to what was actually happening. You were always reacting to what might happen if you didn't do something right now. Research shows that people who grow up walking on emotional eggshells don't just learn to manage conflict, they learn to prevent it. They become masters of emotional preemption, reading micro-expressions, monitoring tone of voice, tracking the exact moment a room shifts from safe to unsafe. And that skill gets so deeply wired into the nervous system that it doesn't turn off when the danger is gone. It keeps running in the background of every relationship, every social interaction, every quiet moment where someone doesn't respond the way you expected. There is also a concept called anxious attachment, a way of relating to people where your sense of safety is constantly tied to how they seem to be feeling. When they are okay, you can breathe. When they are not okay, you cannot rest until they are. You check in one more time. You soften your tone. You take up less space. You become, without realizing it, entirely organized around the emotional state of the people around you. Like keeping 47 browser tabs open that you are terrified to close. Because what if something needs your attention and you missed it? And underneath all of it, your nervous system is running a very old, very exhausting program. If someone around me is upset and I don't fix it, something bad will happen to me. Seneca wrote that most people live their lives reacting to storms that haven't arrived yet. And for you, that is not a philosophical idea. That is Tuesday. That is walking into your own kitchen and checking the atmosphere before you even set down your keys. That is lying in bed at night, replaying a conversation from earlier in the day, trying to figure out if you said something wrong. That is the particular loneliness of sitting in a room full of people you love and still feeling like you are on the clock. There is a grief inside this wound that is hard to name. It is the grief of never quite being off duty, of never getting to just show up as yourself, messy, uncertain, sometimes quiet, sometimes loud, without first calculating how that version of you will land on everyone else. You never got to practice just being. You were always too busy managing, and the cost shows up everywhere. At work, you are the one who absorbs team tension and tries to smooth it out before it reaches anyone important. You over-explain in emails because you are afraid of being misread. You volunteer for things you don't have the capacity for because saying no feels like abandonment. In relationships, you attract people who have a lot of emotional weather because that is what feels familiar. That is what activates the part of you that knows how to be useful. In your quietest moments, sitting in your car before going inside, lying awake at 2 in the morning, scrolling without really looking at anything. You wonder why you were so tired when all you did was talk to people today. The exhaustion is real. And it is real because this is labor. Constant, invisible, unacknowledged emotional labor. And you have been doing it without a break, without recognition, without anyone thinking to ask if you were okay too. This is the part that stopped me completely when I first came across it. The child who learned to manage everyone's mood becomes an adult with a very specific set of patterns. Once you see them, you cannot unsee them. You might find yourself apologizing before you even know what you did wrong. The apology comes faster than the thought, because somewhere inside, keeping the peace matters more than knowing the truth of what happened. You might find yourself physically uncomfortable when someone around you is in a bad mood, even a stranger, even someone in a checkout line who seems annoyed. Your body tightens, your mind starts working. Some part of you wants to fix it. You might find yourself becoming whoever the room needs you to be. Funny when the room needs lightness, serious when the room needs gravity, invisible when the room needs quiet, and then wondering, in the silence afterward, who you actually are when no one needs anything from you. You might struggle to name what you are feeling in any given moment because your entire attention system has been trained outward for so long that turning it inward feels genuinely foreign. Other people's feelings are high definition. Your own are blurry. You might find yourself drawn to relationships where you are needed because being needed feels safer than being wanted. Wanted can be taken away. Needed feels like security. You might find that when someone doesn't need you anymore, when they find other support, when they grow, when they pull back, you feel lost. Not because you are selfish, but because somewhere in your nervous system, being useful was the closest thing to being loved that you ever reliably had. You might have a hard time resting without guilt, without the sense that you should be doing something, checking on someone, holding something together. Rest feels like abandonment of the people around you and somehow of yourself. None of this is who you are. It is what you learned. Healing for you starts with something that sounds simple and is actually one of the most disorienting things you will ever do. It starts with letting someone else's mood be theirs, not managed, not fixed, not smoothed over, just theirs. This is not cruelty. This is not indifference. This is the beginning of learning the difference between empathy, which is a gift you give freely, and hyper-responsibility, which is a tax you pay whether you can afford it or not. Nervous system regulation work is part of this. Learning to sit with someone else's discomfort without your body going into emergency mode. Breathing through the tension without immediately trying to dissolve it. Letting the silence exist without filling it. Shadow work is part of this too. Writing down the moments when you feel most responsible for other people's feelings, and then asking, gently, honestly, whose voice first told you that was your job? What did that person need from you that they should have found elsewhere? What did you give away before you even knew you had it? And therapy, real, consistent. This is for me therapy is one of the most powerful things you can do. Because you have spent so long being tuned into everyone else that having 1 hour, one room, one relationship that is entirely organized around your inner life is genuinely revolutionary. Rumi wrote, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. That field is where you are headed. A place beyond the constant calculation of who needs what and whether you gave enough. A place where you are allowed to simply exist without earning it. The goal is not to be fixed. It is to become whole. You have spent years making sure everyone around you is okay. You have carried moods that were never yours to carry. You have made yourself smaller, lighter, more accommodating than any person should ever have to be. And you did it because at some point, it kept you safe. It kept the peace. It kept the people you love from leaving or exploding or shutting down. But you are allowed to put that down now. You are allowed to walk into a room and not immediately start reading every face. You are allowed to let someone be in a bad mood without it meaning something about you. You are allowed to stop being the emotional thermostat for every space you enter. You are not responsible for other people's weather. You never were. You were just a child who needed to believe that you were, because believing it made the world feel like something you could control. That child did the best they could with what they had. And now you get to show them something new. If this reached something inside you tonight, share it with someone who might need it too. Some of the most important things we ever learn, we learn because someone who loves us quietly slipped something true into our hands.